You know, when you think about it, most people don't destroy their lives with one single giant mistake. It's actually a lot quieter than that. They destroy it through all the tiny things they keep ignoring, you know? The habits, the people, and the emotions that just slowly but surely drain their confidence, their clarity, and their mental strength.
And there's actually a term for this that psychologists use. They call it the silent collapse. It's this really unsettling process where your life starts to fall apart from the inside out, quietly, long before you ever even notice the real damage. And that's exactly what we're going to get into today.
And that's what makes this whole idea so, well, so dangerous. It's not some sudden explosion. It's more like a slow leak. By the time most of us finally hear the alarms going off, the foundation is already weak.
Okay, so let's dive right in. We're going to break down 5 key things that, if you let them, can really dig their roots in and become so much harder to escape. We'll look at draining people, that nagging habit of avoidance, the real cost of clutter, the people-pleasing trap, and finally, unprocessed pain.
First up, the people who just drain your energy. And this goes way deeper than just feeling tired after a long conversation. This is about the deep psychological cost of your social circle.
You know, there's a really fascinating reason why this happens. Our brains are literally wired to mirror the emotional state of the people we spend the most time with. So if you're constantly surrounded by negativity, drama, or complaining, your own mind is being actively rewired to match that same frequency.
And this brings us to 2 completely different ways our brains can operate: survival mode versus growth mode. The wrong people can literally lock you into survival mode, where you're just trying to get by, constantly draining your confidence. But a supportive environment, that fosters growth mode, and that's where you build mental strength and clarity. The goal isn't to find perfect people, but to find people who don't make your life heavier.
All right, let's move on to number 2, the habit of putting things off. We all just kind of call it laziness, but when you look at it psychologically, it's a whole different ballgame. So let's just ask it straight up. Is procrastination really just a sign of laziness? Well, the short answer is no. It's actually a sign of something else entirely.
Psychologists actually call it avoidance anxiety. It's your brain's defense mechanism kicking into high gear. See, when a task feels overwhelming or just emotionally uncomfortable, your brain goes for the quick fix, the temporary relief of avoidance, over the satisfaction of long-term progress. It's a coping strategy, not a character flaw.
And this is where it gets tricky, because it creates this really vicious cycle. You face a task, you put it off to avoid feeling bad, and your brain learns, hey, avoiding this feels safe. But here's the crucial part. Every time that happens, you're not just delaying a task, you're teaching your brain to run from challenges. And that, over time, just quietly destroys your trust in yourself. Okay, on to number 3, the cost of clutter. And I know, it's so easy to just dismiss a messy desk or a cluttered room, right? But your physical environment has this direct, really powerful impact on your mental state.
The connection is it's incredibly direct. A messy environment leads to a messy mind. Think about it. Every single object in your space is competing for your attention, whether you realize it or not.
And the science totally backs this up. Studies have shown that physical clutter actually increases the stress hormone cortisol. It overloads your brain's working memory, which basically means even simple decisions feel way harder than they should. You don't have to become a minimalist or anything, but it's so important to remove the things that are constantly pulling your focus away.
All right, let's talk about number 4. This is a big one, the people-pleasing trap. This is that subtle act of losing yourself in an attempt to be liked by everyone, and it really is a trap, and it's rooted in fear.
Psychologically, this whole thing often gets its start way back in childhood. If love and approval felt conditional, like you had to be a certain way to get affection, you learn that your authentic self isn't safe. So what do? You create a version of yourself that you think other people will accept.
This quote just captures the devastating trade-off perfectly. In the quest to be everything for everyone else, you slowly erase who you actually are. The moment you remove that need to be liked, you finally give yourself the space to grow into the person you're actually meant to be.
And that brings us to our 5th and honestly maybe the most crucial point of all, unprocessed pain. These are the emotional wounds you try to ignore, just hoping they'll go away on their own, but they never do. See, unprocessed emotions, they don't just vanish. Instead, they hide. They embed themselves in your decision-making, they dictate how you react in your relationships, and they quietly eat away at your confidence. The truth is, avoiding emotional pain doesn't make it disappear. It just gives it more power over you.
Now, this next idea is so important. The wound is not your fault, but the healing is your responsibility. This is such an empowering way to think about it. It shifts you from being a victim of your past to becoming the architect of your future. Facing the pain is what finally breaks its hold on you.
And here's the real truth of it all. If even one of these 5 things is still hanging around in your life, it is already shaping your future. But the very moment, you decide to actively remove what's weighing you down, your life doesn't just get a little better. No, it fundamentally changes direction.
So please, don't wait for one day to start making these changes. Because the hard truth is, too late almost always arrives a lot faster than you think.